with Shari.
And I'm Will.
From Float in the Forest. We're in the lounge here at the Float Centre, and this is our first ever live. So thank you for coming along. If you have any questions, this is the ideal time. We're ready to answer your questions live. So the main question that we've been getting at the moment is probably the obvious one. So everyone would like to know when we're going to reopen, and we would love to be able to answer it. We love that you're keen to come back and float with us. We are keen to open the centre, and we wish that we could be offering you all floats right now. But the fact is that according to government policy, we're not allowed to be open at the moment, and there isn't a clear answer just yet as to when that will change. So we don't want to give a specific date and then potentially disappoint people if things were to change as the situation evolves. So yeah, just as soon as we have a date, we will be shouting about it, and we'll be very excited to be working towards opening the Float Centre. So there was something you wanted to say?
Yeah, but we haven't just been sat around doing nothing. We have been very busy behind the scenes, and we're preparing revised processes and procedures in light of this new world that we all face. We're very lucky that as an industry, as the flotation industry as a whole, has some wonderful advisors. We have an industry body, and on the board of the industry body there are a couple of experts in microbiology and various consultants that we've taken advice from. So, as I say, we're very lucky to have those resources available to us, and they provided us with some great information to inform best practice and revised policies in light of the challenges we're all facing.
So we're working on that now, so that when the time comes when we do have a date, we will be pulling things together as quickly as we can, ready to reopen. So I guess we thought we'd be a bit cheeky and answer that question before anyone even asked it, because it has been asked a lot over the last few days, weeks, even months. And yeah, it's a tricky one to answer. But we do have a question from Lauren, who wanted to know where we get the salt that goes in the pods, in the float pods.
That's a really good question, Lauren. So first of all, perhaps not everyone is aware that the salt we use is not salt like sea salt or table salt, which is sodium chloride. It's epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, which is much gentler on the skin and generally a much more friendly substance to immerse yourself in lots of. It gives the solution a kind of silky feel. People quite often comment on how nice their skin feels once they emerge from the pods. So as to regarding where we get it from, it's a naturally occurring mineral. The name Epsom salt comes from the town Epsom, which is where in the UK the sort of greatest amounts were originally discovered. But we actually get the Epsom salt that we use from Germany. Germany is the primary producer of the pharmaceutical grade Epsom salt that we use in Europe. And so it's mined in Germany from the ground, and it's purified, bagged up, and then shipped over to us. So we get that delivered by the pallet load. There's 550 kilograms of Epsom salt in each float pod dissolved in the water, and that's what increases the buoyancy and allows you to float.
So thanks for the question, Lauren. I see we've got a comment from Sarah. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're good, thank you. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining us on our live. So has anybody else got any questions? Feel free to comment with your question. Don't feel that it could be silly. We've probably heard pretty much every question that you could ask about floating.
We always think that, and then there's always another one.
But there is no silly question. So put them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. In the meantime, I think I will talk about the good old claustrophobia, if we can just check. I don't think we have any more questions. Because this is our very first live, we are slightly unsure what we're doing with the comments. No, I think we don't have any more at the moment.
Yep.
So I was going to talk about claustrophobia then, because other than the current number one question, when we're going to open, the number one question about floating is claustrophobia, and people worrying that they might feel claustrophobic when they're in the float pod. I find that this question pops up in different ways, like people say, am I closed in? How big is the pod? Will I be able to get out? All those kind of things. And I think it comes down to an idea that we're going to be trapped in a small space, which nobody wants to be trapped in a small space, and floating is not that at all. But it's totally understandable that you might be worried about that before you first come to float. Maybe you don't know quite what the pods are like or what the situation is. So yeah, the more that I talked about claustrophobia, the more that I realised it came down to three things, which is basically the pod is probably bigger than you're picturing. It's about the same size as a small car, so our pods are really spacious. There's plenty of room to stretch out in all directions. Even if you are taller, there'll still be plenty of space. So yeah, it's not up close here like you might be picturing. In fact, when I'm lying in the water, I can reach out and I can't touch the ceiling. So it's, yeah, plenty spacious. If you're comfortable getting in a car, then you're fine to get in the float pod. Then secondly, I think it's about control. So as I mentioned, people might be worrying that they're going to be trapped, that they can't get out. It's none of that. The float pods that we have a door that's manual, very easy to operate. You can choose to have it open, part way, closed. You can change your mind through the float. It's very light and easy to move, a bit like a car boot. So you are absolutely in control of the pod door. If you weren't enjoying it, of course you could get out, but I think that's unlikely. And also you're in control of the light inside the pod as well, so you can choose at any moment to have that on, off, rainbow cycling colours or whatever colour you like. So you're very much in control. And then the third point is just that floating can seem like something strange when you haven't done it before, and strange can seem scary. So we do get quite a few people a little bit nervous when they first come to float, and that's absolutely fine. Completely understandable. It's natural to be nervous of a new experience. Once you get used to it, you realise actually this isn't so strange. Get used to the routine involved in coming for a float, and you realise actually it's really relaxing. It's not strange at all. So chances are, if you're worried about claustrophobia, it's not going to be an issue. It's never been an issue in the year that we've been open.
It's also quite interesting to note that the guy who designed the pods that we use is 6'6", so he's
6'6".
Yeah, 6'6". He's intended, obviously, to be able to float in it himself and be very comfortable. So that kind of gives you a bit of context for how spacious the pods feel.
Oh, there's a lovely comment there from Sarah. It's an amazing feeling, and I guarantee you won't want to get out. Thank you very much, Sarah. So has anybody got any more questions? I'm going to have another go at scrolling down. Thank you for bearing with us when we get used to the process. So would anybody else like to shout out with any questions? Otherwise I'm going to throw another one in there.
Yeah, we've been receiving all sorts of questions as the months have gone by since we opened. So we're quite used to addressing these, so we thought we'd bring up some of the most common and frequent ones that people tend to ask. So there's a question that's come in there from Kirsty.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for your question, Kirsty. Kirsty asks, is it a good idea to remove engagement or wedding rings? Would salt cause damage to them? That's a really good question,
It is a good question. So we say that if you have jewellery that can be removed, we ask that you do remove it. I always used to say, or if you have a wedding ring that doesn't come off, then that's fine. Because that was the main piece of jewellery I guess I thought of, that some people don't remove and after a while maybe can't remove. But there are other bits of jewellery that maybe you never take off, like some people have studs or things in their ears that haven't come out and since they first had them pierced. That's sort of been brought up a few times since we've been open. If you can't take it out, it's fine from our point of view. Our concerns would be, like if you had a ring that had a great big stone on it, it can scratch the float pod, which would be a shame. I guess there is
But the main reason we ask you to remove any jewellery that can be removed is just to avoid the risk of you losing it.
Yeah, if it came off in the pod, got stuck in our filter, be a shame for you, a shame for us. So yeah, we do ask that if it can come off, that you do remove it, but if you have a ring or something that never comes off, that's absolutely fine.
And to address your specific point, Kirsty, no, it won't damage like silver or gold jewellery. It's not going to suffer from any corrosion from the pod because it won't react.
So thank you for the question, Kirsty. Have we got something else there? Will can read it better than I can from this test.
Yeah, we've got a few questions coming now. So a question from Sarah. Sarah asked, how warm is the water, as I found it like an extension to my body?
Nice description. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you want to answer, or shall I?
Yeah, so the water's carefully controlled and it's designed so that it's at skin temperature, which is 35 degrees centigrade. So the reason why we do that is because, as Sarah alluded to there, after a while you kind of lose awareness of where your body ends and the water begins. Part of the magic of the float pod is that it reduces the sensory input, so as well as sound and vision and so on, touch is a part of that, and awareness of temperature. So by carefully controlling the temperature of the solution at 35 degrees centigrade, what that means is that because there's no contrast between yourself and your environment, that awareness of touch and awareness of temperature drops below your sort of conscious threshold, and so it allows you to relax even more deeply.
He expresses that very well. I would just say I can't tell when my body ends and the water begins, but it's all a similar kind of thing. Yeah. And it kind of has to be experienced to be believed, I think. So yeah, thanks for your description, Sarah.
Thanks for your comment, Steve. Steve says, great idea to do this, very friendly and informative.
Nice to see you, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Steve.
Yeah, then we got a comment from Virginia. What's it like having to be locked down?
Very good question. So it's
a shame.
It's tough. We have we love being able to provide people with this tool, with the ability to float, because it can bring so many benefits to so many different people in all sorts of different ways. So it's challenging not to be able to provide that, particularly to those people who come to see us regularly and float regularly. So it's very challenging. We're very aware that we've got people who get a lot of benefit from the float. So we're really looking forward to being able to provide those benefits to as many people as possible again soon, we hope.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly haven't been bored. We've been busy working on it behind the scenes. Hopefully you've spotted lots of marketing. We've been having fun coming up with the sort of social media posts and stuff. We've been doing ones about, have you noticed things around the float centre? Quite fun to be able to point those out and explain where the ideas came from or why we have these pieces of art in the centre. And also working on all our procedures, making everything stronger behind the scenes so that we're ready when we can reopen. And I see that Virginia has asked when might we open again. I think you might have missed at the beginning. We said that this is it's like the elephant in the room, really, that everyone wants to know, and we don't have a clear answer yet.
As soon as we can is the short answer.
Yeah.
We're constrained by government policy, of course, as are we all. So we want to make sure that we open in line with government policy, and we open in a way that makes sure that everybody is as safe as they can be and as protected as they can be. So with that in mind, we've taken advice from microbiologists and experts who are on the board of directors of the Float Tank Association, which is the industry body that we're a member of. So that we're in the best position to be able to provide the benefits of flotation to as many people as possible, as safely as possible.
The short answer is hopefully not too much longer now. If for anybody who wants to be kept updated, probably the best way is to sign up to our email list. We send out emails fortnightly, and we will be letting everyone know on our emails.
So how would someone sign up to our email list, Shari?
Probably the best way is to go to our website. There is a pop-up form that should come up when you go to our website. There's also forms the bottom of, I think, every page on our website, pretty much every page. So you can sign up, and that way you will get a message into your inbox to say when we're actually opening. And I imagine there probably will be quite a rush of people wanting to book their floats. So if you're one of the first, then you can get one of the first appointments. So I don't know if we've got any more questions at the moment.
Not right now, but do feel free to ask us questions whenever you wish. You can drop us a line on social media or via the website, whatever mechanism you choose, and we'll make sure that we answer those in the future, and hopefully do another live quite soon to address those.
So shall I just do? I'll just do the other question that I was thinking of saying, which is what do I wear when I'm floating? Which is one that we get fairly regularly, and I think a lot of people are probably wondering it, but a bit too embarrassed to ask. Don't be embarrassed. We're happy to talk about anything in relation to floating. And the short answer to what do I wear is we recommend that you don't wear anything while you're floating. There's nothing strange about that. It's a private room, no one can see. But the main reason for that is that when you're floating, the number of distractions is cut right down. So Will talked a bit about temperature before. That's one of the things that you stop noticing the difference between the water, the air, your body. Likewise, you can choose to be in the dark. You don't have to be if you have the light on. But in the dark, you've got no visual input. There's basically no sound input. We've gone to great efforts to soundproof the rooms and make them as peaceful as possible. Likewise, if you've got a swimming costume on, like with any clothes, they're making contact with your body. They might be rubbing. So if you had a strap or a waistband, it's pressing on your body in some way. It might be uncomfortable, it might be itchy, it might just be sending messages to your brain, which is input, which means that if the more input you're having, the harder it is to switch your brain off and drift away, really. So if you're not wearing a costume, then you're more liberated. Of course, if you want to wear a costume, we can't stop you. In fact, we wouldn't know. We would just ask that it please be clean. We don't want chlorine from swimming pools, for example, in the pods. So a clean costume, and you'll want to give it a good rinse out afterwards. Otherwise, you will have a very crusty swimming costume. Yeah.
The short answer is, would you wear your swimming costume in the bath?
Probably not.
So, but of course, it's entirely up to you.
Yeah. So I think maybe we'll bring it to a close unless anybody has any questions that they'd like answered right now. Otherwise, as always, feel free to send us a message, an email, give us a call, however you want to do it. We're around and we're happy to talk to you and answer your questions. If you're watching this on replay, please comment with the old #replay to let us know that you've been watching. That would be great. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah, we look forward to catching up with you next time.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Bye.